Hi, welcome to our Wednesday devotional. Thank you for spending this time with me each week. I appreciate it so much, and I appreciate the kind comments I receive about this special short time I spend with you. I have a question for you. How many of you, I wonder, grew up poor? I think when we were growing up, as old as I am, many people were a lot poorer than they realized because it seemed like people were very careful. People had come through the war, and people did not have very much. People were rebuilding their lives. I remember when we were growing up, since I was the oldest son of four boys, I would often get a new pair of pants or a new pair of blue jeans, and then we'd hand them down. The problem was that I always wore Huskies, and all three of my brothers wore skinnies or slims. So they were wearing baggy pants a long time before it was popular to wear baggy pants. But we didn't grow up with very much. But I wonder, as we approach our lives today, how many of us would be willing to be poor if that's what God wanted. In the Old Testament, I was reading in Leviticus recently in chapter 23, where he gives guidelines as to how to take care of all the poor people in their land. And the plan was this: when you're harvesting your land, don't go all the way to the corner. Cut the corners, round off the corners, and that way the poor people who are poor, who have needs, can go back behind you and glean after you and collect all that you did not pick up or did not harvest. It was a good plan, and it allowed people to work for what they would have. But then I was reading in another devotional not long ago and read this. The devotional said, "Today we're so afraid of poverty that we never dream of doing anything that might involve us being poor." We're running out of the medieval monks who took the vow of poverty. This devotional writer says, many of us are poor, but none of us chooses to be. And it caused me to wonder about our trust in the Lord. Do we trust Him? Is it okay if He allows us to be poor? The American dream is you get more than your parents, and you live better than your parents, and you have a bigger house than your parents, and nicer cars and nicer clothing than your parents. But is that God's plan? I believe sometimes we are so intent on saving and having that we're not willing to give what God gives us to be a blessing to others. So I thought of two or three things about being poor, about poverty I wanted to share with you today. Number one, we need to realize that we're better off than a lot of people. Even the poorest in America, unless you're homeless, have a great deal more than many people all over the world. We are such a blessed nation, and even with gas prices rising and grocery prices rising and all the complications we're facing right now, we still are much better off than others. Second thing is this: we can be blessed with things other than money. Poverty, I think, of life would be worse than poverty of money. Poverty without friends, poverty without those things that are blessings in our lives would be far worse than not having enough money. Many have jobs, and those that don't have jobs could get jobs. There are jobs available for most people. We are very, very blessed, even if we feel like we're poor. And the other thing is this: we should not fear being poor. We have a God who's promised to provide all of our needs. Do we believe that? I think sometimes we quote the verses, and we say we believe it, but we don't live like we believe. Have we ever prayed, as the Lord's Prayer was taught to us, "Give us this day our daily bread"? Have we ever had to pray because we had no food for that day? Now, sometimes we have stories about one or two times in our lives, but this is a daily prayer if we really are in poverty. Give us this day. Oh, what a blessing it is that God provides so much for us. Not only that, He's promised to provide our needs, but He's also promised to give us the desires of our hearts. Now, what does that mean? The desires of our hearts, I believe, is not speaking of all the wealth and money and financial things and security we should have. I think it's speaking of those things that we desire where we can be a blessing to others. So I was just thinking today about being poor, about the blessings of being poor. So I want to encourage each of us today, whether you feel like you're poor or feel like you're not very poor, let's look for someone today to whom we can be a blessing. It may not be that we can give them anything financially, but we can give them encouragement. We can give them a gospel tract. We can give them a witness. And we can make what seems to be poverty wealth. We have the wealth of knowing Jesus Christ as our Savior. We have the wealth of knowing we have an eternal home being prepared even right now for us. Oh, what a blessing it is. Let's not worry too much about being poor. Let's trust in the Lord with all of our heart. Lean not to our own understanding, and He will direct our paths. God bless you. Have a wonderfully blessed, even if it's a poor, day.